The movie began in 2005 in Peoria, Illinois. Earl Stone, an 88-year-old Korean War veteran, enjoys his job as a horticulturist, growing exotic flowers and being admired for his daylily hybridization. The next day, he attended the National Daylily League convention, demonstrating that the Earl is well known in the fancy flower community. Earl notices a booth promoting a flower business via the internet, but he is skeptical. Earl wins the 2005 NDL Gold Medal for his Sunnyside Meadows, Illinois majestic flower. At the event, he gives a short talk and cracks jokes. Simultaneously, his daughter Iris is married elsewhere. Earl's granddaughter Ginny is initially optimistic, but Earl's ex-wife Mary Stone knows he will disappoint everyone in the end. Earl's online flower business failed 12 years later, and his house was foreclosed on by the bank. Earl then pays a visit to his granddaughter Ginny to attend his wedding rehearsal. Ginny is overjoyed that her grandfather is attending the event. Shortly after, Iris and Mary arrive with a dress for Ginny. Earl's presence irritates the two of them, so Iris returns to the car, while Mary assumes Earl is looking for a place to live when she sees all of his belongings in his beat-up old truck. They both argue, making Ginny and her fiancé uncomfortable, and they both leave. However, when a friend of his fiancée Ginny approaches Earl, he learns that Earl has traveled to 41 states without a ticket. He then hands Earl a business card and tells him he knows someone who is looking for drivers, in the hopes that it will help his granddaughter's wedding party. Earl accepts the proposal. Earl visits a tire shop, where thugs from Mexico load a duffel bag into the back of his truck and hand him a cell phone. He is not allowed to use the phone, but he is required to answer it at any time of day or night. He's not supposed to look in the bag, and he's supposed to park the truck and return in an hour. Earl obeys and retrieves a cash envelope from the glove compartment. Earl attends Ginny's wedding, but Iris and Mary are distant and appear surprised to see Earl there. Nonetheless, Ginny thanks Earl for the flowers and the open bar. Earl then attempts to ask Mary to dance, but she declines, claiming that Earl spends too much time on flowers and neglects his own family. Earl buys himself a new truck the next day and impresses the Mexican hoods with it. He will make the delivery again, and they have ordered Earl to return to his usual hotel and follow their rules. They also give Earl a new phone while smashing the old one. Then he goes for his second run. Meanwhile, DEA's Special Agent Warren Lewis has enlisted the help of a new hotshot agent, Colin Bates, to track down drug dealers and traffickers attempting to enter the United States. He and his partner Trevino are successful in apprehending a cartel member named Luis. In Luis's home, they discovered drugs, $425,000 in cash, and 3 unlicensed firearms. Luis, conservatively, will face life in prison and will be someone's girlfriend in a day. Luis must be willing to cooperate with the DEA if he does not want that to happen to him. They then use Luis as an informant to expose the drug trafficking of the cartel. Earl goes to the bank the next day to get his house out of foreclosure by paying off all of his debts. He then goes to the VFW, which has been completely destroyed by fire, but no one has been injured. Unfortunately, insurance companies don't care about them, so they're unlikely to receive any compensation for a few years. Earl is sorry if that place is abandoned, and the veterans are at a loss for what to do. Unless someone donates some money to repair it, a volunteer observes Earl's new truck. Earl returned to the tire shop later that day to make another delivery. With a heavier load, the Mexican thugs remind Earl to follow the rules and ask him to keep his eyes open. On the Earl's third run, he is curious about the cargo's contents. He then pulls over to his car and attempts to open the bag, which contains a large amount of cocaine. Shocking Earl, an officer appears just as he is about to close the bag, asking if the Earl requires any assistance. The officer wants to see what's in Earl's car, and since he has a few sacks of pecans, Earl tells him he's going to deliver the pecans to his niece. When the officer's dog begins to bark, he believes it is about to pee. Earl takes advantage of the opportunity to apply his analgesic bomb. When the dog approaches the Earl, he instructs it to sniff the bomb. Officers immediately take the dog and release Earl. Earl delivers the cargo and earns more money than before. Meanwhile, in Mexico, Leighton, a cartel boss, informs his man Julio that Earl will send 110 kilos worth $2.7 million. So he wants Julio to accompany him and keep an eye on him because Earl could be a valuable mule for them. Julio appears dissatisfied with his job. Earl makes a donation to the VFW, which then holds a grand reopening celebration. Earl is a true hero. He also contributes to his granddaughter Ginny's education and attends her graduation ceremony. Iris is still cold, but Mary is warming up. Mary, on the other hand, appears to be ill. Earl arrives at the tire shop and meets Julio and his partner Sal. Earl is instructed to obey his orders, follow their route, and avoid any unexpected stops. While driving, Earl notices a family with a flat tire on their car. Earl broke the rules by stopping his car and assisting them. When they successfully deliver the cargo, Julio contacts Leighton and informs him that Earl is not following the rules, but Leighton advises him to let Earl work his own way. Meanwhile, Luis hands over a cargo manifest to the agents. They discovered the symbols for each mule, their routes, cargo loads, and the existence of El Tata. After that, the agents began to gather information about his identity. All they knew was that he transports over 100 kilograms of drugs to Chicago every month and drives a black truck. On another run, Earl is late delivering the cargo, but Layton's men inform him that Earl set a record by carrying 282 packages in a single load, and Layton wishes to meet him. Earl is brought to Mexico by Layton, who throws a big party in his honor. The DEA prefers that the cartels remain unaware of their activities, but they must demonstrate progress. As a result, the DEA chief instructs them to stage a bust. They then stage an ambush at a suspected stash house, but all they get are 2 nobody illegals and a few bags of coke. Layton is killed by his own men while playing with his favorite shotgun. Gustavo requests to see Julio, explaining that the DEA is cracking down on him and that he does not want to rot in prison. But Layton was becoming too lenient, so Gustavo let him go. He's the new boss now, and he doesn't want any more tardiness or deviations from the plan. He also wants to introduce Earl to their new crew and prove to him that they are not lying. Earl is stopped by Julio and some of his men shortly after purchasing a burger. One of them got into Earl's car and asked him to follow them. They come to a halt in the woods and ask Earl to come out. Bug issues Earl a new rule requiring him to arrive on time and leave on time, with no unscheduled stops. They then show him Sal's body, and Julio warns him to follow the rules or else it will happen to him as well. Bates discovers the mule's route and destination thanks to wiretapping, so he and his team will go in an undercover vehicle this time to catch the mule. They follow the suspicious black truck and order him to stop. They let the man go because they couldn't find anything in the truck. Luis calls Bates and informs him that the mule will be staying at a motel and advises him to go there. When they arrived, they discovered a suspicious person. Bates enters the man's room and arrests him, but all they find is 15 grams of meth. Earl watches them through the curtains as Bates searches the man's truck for anything. Earl goes to the coffee shop early in the morning and runs into Bates. Earl engages him in small talk and offers him family advice, telling him, "Don't be like me." Ginny abruptly calls him as he continues his run. Mary is in the hospital, but she is allowed to go home for hospice care because her condition is too critical and she was too late to be treated. Earl has only just started his first run for the new boss, but he realizes that this is his last chance to make things right, so he vanishes and returns to his family. He approaches Mary and apologizes for everything he has done thus far. Mary forgives him and is relieved to see the Earl. Bug and his colleague call Earl several times but receive no response. Bug is furious and plans to kill him. Meanwhile, Luis informs Bates that the cartel has lost contact with the mule, who is carrying $1.2 million in drugs, for a week. Bates informs his boss, but Warren informs him that they had wasted too much time and that he wanted to end the operation. Bates assures him that he has tapped the cartel's phones in order to track their movements. Warren offers him one more chance. Earl remains at Mary's bedside. She tells him that the Earl represents both love and pain to him, and that the Earl's presence right now means a lot to him. Earl tells her he loves her, and then Mary disappears. Iris invites him to Thanksgiving dinner with the family after Mary's funeral. Earl promises to come, but then returns to his drug delivery. The gangsters who were supposed to be following Earl spot his truck and chase him down to a truck stop, where they beat him up. Earl hands them the memorial service flyer and informs them that his wife has died. Bugs calls Gustavo and tells him that Earl has a good reason for disappearing, but their new boss disagrees and plans to kill Earl. Bug argues his case, but Gustavo warns them that if Earl fails to complete the delivery, it will be their heads on the line. In the meantime, the DEA listens in on Bug and Gustavo's conversation. They obtain information about Earl's vehicle and set up a GPS lock. Earl resumes his drug distribution despite the scars on his face. Bates, on the other hand, now has Earl's truck ID and, with the assistance of a chopper, they pursue Earl. Bates and his team successfully block the road and stop Earl's truck. Bates is taken aback when he realizes the person he has arrested is Earl. Earl tells him that he gets what he deserves, and that he is grateful for the time he spent with Mary and his family, which allow him to return. Earl's lawyer attempts to portray him at trial as a broke, desperate war hero trying to provide for his family, and the cartels took advantage of not only his good nature but also his advanced age. Earl, on the other hand, stops her and pleads guilty to all charges. They then arrest him and transport him to federal prison. Earl tells Iris and Ginny as he walks away that it's just time, that he could buy anything but time. They kiss him, and Iris says, "At the very least, we'll know where to find you." Earl grows daylilies in the prison garden at the end of the film. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.